Strangers Chapter 2 came out. Did you even know that? Hopefully not. I imagine you didn't, and I apologize for even putting this on your radar. They made a sequel to Strangers Chapter 1, which was abhorrent. I can't even remember if I made a review spitting on it. I don't even know if I even bothered to take the time insulting that movie or not. I might have, might not have. It's all a blur to me now. But turns out they've made a sequel to it. They've made the inexplicable decision to make a sequel to that super stinker. And not only that, turns out it's a trilogy. At the end of this movie, they even have a montage sizzler reel giving you the little breadcrumbs for Chapter 3. It is so silly. I really thought Nick Fury was about to pop on screen and recruit Maya to the Avengers. Maya being the survivor of Strangers Chapter 1, The Attack. I don't say this lightly, but we might be witnessing the worst trilogy in horror movies. And only one question needs to be asked. Why? Why would you even make this in the first place? The first Strangers movie, the original, is a banger. I really like that film. Strangers Chapter 1 is irredeemable dog shit. And Strangers Chapter 2 completely wipes its ass with everything that made the original good. You see, in the original... I just dropped a you see like Darman here. But it is this profound. In the original Strangers, one of the most horrifying moments is when they are asked, when the main character asks the strangers why they're doing this. Why are you torturing us? Why are you going to kill us? What is the point? What are you doing this for? And they respond saying, because you were home. That's it. You don't get a Naruto flashback to the strangers explaining what led them to this moment, why they turned out this way. You don't get any tiddlywinks of lore about these characters at all. It's this message here. That's all you get. Because you were home. Letting the viewer know that these are just unhinged psychopaths that are doing this just because they felt like it and this couple happened to be there at the time. It is such an effective scene. Strangers Chapter 1 was horrible, but it did at least keep intact the strangers just being like, faceless nobodies doing something because they clearly have a love for it, and they gave their own spin, their fucking remix on Because You Were Home, and butchered it. Stranger Chapter 2, though, completely takes the Strangers concept and flushes it down the shitter. This movie dedicates a pretty substantial chunk of its short runtime to fleshing out one of the strangers. Well, two of the strangers, giving you their backstory. Which is the antithesis to what these films are supposed to be about in the first place. So, of course, we're going to get into spoilers. This is your warning. Movie sucks. You're not missing anything. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not even like fun bad. It's just kind of a slog. Even though it's only like an hour and a half, it feels longer because it's just not good. And I saw the lead actress here come out and say, like, the best films are often polarizing. And I understand that you can't just come out and just, start pissing on the movie that you're in. You're supposed to promote it, but the best films are polarizing. It's not polarizing. No one likes this movie. And plus, this is not part of, like, the best films. This trilogy isn't going to be talked about in the same breath as, fucking Lord of the Rings or something like that. But anyway, Strangers Chapter 2 picks up pretty much immediately where Chapter 1 leaves off, where Maya has just been the victim of the strangers' attack. Her fiancé was killed right in front of her, and she just barely survived, and now she's recovering in the hospital. And we immediately meet one of the strangers, unmasked. It's the waitress from the diner, Shelley. And then we get, throughout the film, like 20, 25-ish minutes dedicated to showcasing her childhood. And it turns out she was just born evil. She snaps the neck of a rat. She's obsessed with this boy who is like, has this girl that follows him around, so she gets really jealous and eventually kills that girl being Tamra. Which, if you've seen Chapter 1, first of all, my condolences, what a waste of your time. Lord, help us, I hope you don't see Chapter 2. Hopefully, me explaining this here will paint a good enough picture. You won't feel, the need to spend money on this piece of shit. But anyway, that's Tamra. And so she kills Tamra, and now every time the strangers go out and kill, she starts by saying, is Tamra there? In reference to that moment from her childhood. And that boy in the flashbacks is pretty obviously the guy in the scarecrow mask. So we get like 20-25 minutes just showing that she's evil. That's it. But that undoes the whole concept of the strangers just being like these psychopaths you know nothing about, never learn anything about, and they're just doing this because, well, who really knows? They're just doing it because they want to. Here, You're getting so much backstory and shit. They're actually setting this up like it's supposed to be some kind of like Marvel universe here for the Strangers. It sucks. I really hated that direction. But not only that, the movie itself is just not good. I will say, though, the best part of it was the beginning where Maya's in the hospital and the Strangers are alerted that she survived. Well, they then make it their mission to go out and finish the job. But before doing that, Maya's talking to the sheriff and, like, the other officer, and they're fucking weirdos. Like, the sheriff is a freak. He's talking to Maya about, like, what she encountered. He's like, maybe your memory's a little foggy. You did almost die, you know. It's pretty clear they're setting him up to be like this creepy presence who is clearly involved with the Strangers in some shape or form. My guess is one of them is like, you know, his daughter or his son. So he like actively works to cover up their murders, which is a core component to the story that they sprinkle in here and there about how this town has all these murders that get covered up. And yeah. So he's clearly involved. They make that very obvious from the get-go. But they also set up like this whole town might be involved. There could be, anyone could be the Strangers. So Maya's being hunted in the hospital. The hospital is fucking ginormous, by the way. Like probably the size of the town, it feels like, with the amount of rooms she goes through and hallways she runs down. And somehow the Strangers have like fast travel throughout this film. So even when she ends up in like the fucking basement, like in the middle of nowhere, one of the Strangers just happens to be there. Like she's just already there. Why would she be there? You knew that she was in one of the hospital beds. Why the fuck would you like fan out to like the basement garage? And that happens a lot where she like ends up in the woods at one point and somehow the Strangers, these are giant woods by the way, but somehow the Strangers are always like right on her tail, like only a few yards away. Even though they never saw where she went or even knew that she ended up in the woods in the first place like that. Like it's just crazy to me how they're like this omniscient presence. Like, they are constantly able to find her in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's like they actually have a UAV online or something. Or like in Mario Kart, like rubber banding, where like they can always catch up to you. It's so baffling. But anyway, the best sequence is in the hospital where she's like running away from the Strangers. I actually thought they did a good job of like building up some tense moments where the guy with the axe is coming through and she's trying to like outsmart him by hiding. But then it's always undercut by her making like a really stupid decision. So like she completely evades him at one point, and then while he's still, like, within earshot, she starts to, like, crawl away and she, like, blasts a wrench with her knee. So then, obviously, he hears that, goes over and starts throwing barrels around. Anyway, Maya manages to get out of the hospital. Axe guy butchered, like, 2 people. And then she ends up in the woods. Well, actually, yeah, she ends up in the woods. Somehow the Strangers are, like, able to track her in the woods, like I mentioned. I guess they could just fucking smell her from miles away or something. So they're tracking her. She eventually winds up on a road where a car is coming, and it's one of the people from the hospital. And she stops, lets her in, and it's her, another woman, and then 2 other dudes are just walking on the road randomly in this pouring down rain. They're like, oh, it just happens to be our roommates. What are you guys doing? They're like, yeah, fucking, he calls him Dick Stain. Dick Stain forgot the keys or something to the truck, so now we're walking home. It's like, well, hop in, you know, and they turn it into a clown car, so now they're sandwiching Maya in the backseat, and these 2 guys are obviously very creepy, and they're setting them up to be very creepy. So the whole idea is anyone in this car could be one of the Strangers. Maya starts freaking out because she thinks she's in danger. The guy next to her has like a smiley face tattoo on his neck, and he's really shifty. It's very clearly trying to nudge the viewer that this is probably the Scarecrow, and I thought it was a red herring, but I'm actually pretty sure it is just the main Scarecrow guy, because at the end of the film, the big reveal, like with the Tamara flashback, is Shelley and that boy draw a smiley face out of blood, out of Tamara's blood, and this guy just happens to have that same smiley face tattoo on his neck. And also, he's never there when the axe guy comes through, the Scarecrow guy. So I think it probably is just that guy, but it feels just too obvious. But I also think this movie is just that shitty that they probably will just make it very obvious and not even try to subvert your expectations. But anyway, I'm getting so lost just like yapping about this fucking thing, just blabbering on. She's in the backseat with these 2 guys. She's freaking out. The other guy is, he's also weird. She grabs a knife that one of the girls was using to cut an apple with. She grabs a knife, jumps out of the moving vehicle, runs back into the forest, and then the Strangers are starting to track her again. She goes like survivalist mode. She makes a fire and everything. She drinks some water from a nearby like stream, and then she gets attacked by a wild boar. Well, I guess not wild per se. It's semi-domesticated because the axe guy, well, it turns out when he was a kid, we get this from the flashbacks, he could like mind control boars. I say mind control, but like he's able to, he's like the boar whisperer, so he can like talk to the wild pigs and have them do his bidding. So he goes to a shed, unlocks the shed, and then that boar finds Maya, and then it becomes like the Revenant for a little bit. Like it is actually straight up just like the Revenant. So she's getting attacked by the boar, bitten by the boar and shit, and then she has to stab and kill the boar. She does. She's extremely injured again because obviously she just got attacked by this fucking boar. But she's able to muscle her way through the forest and end up back at the house from the Chapter 1 film. It's all cautioned off because there was a grisly murder that happened there, but she's able to take some refuge in there for all of like 45 seconds, and then some guy shows up, and it turns out he like shows her a badge. He's Internal Affairs, who's investigating the sheriff for his like covering up of all the murders that are happening in town. He just comes out of nowhere, by the way. I don't know why he ended up at this house. No one is at this house. It's all cautioned off. I don't know why he wouldn't go to like the town and like the police station itself to conduct like the investigation and everything. But he just randomly ends up at this house. He finds Maya, immediately recognizes that Maya is one of the victims. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna do everything I can to help you. Here, get in my truck. We're gonna get into town. And then as she gets in the truck, he gets sniped by a crossbow from one of the strangers. So he was in actually maybe like 15 seconds worth of film there. So now she has a truck, she drives away, but it got hit by a crossbow, and now it's like breaking down, and it crashes, well, it runs out of juice right at the house from that woman from before, and the roommates and everything. It's their house. So she collapses at the door, they stitch her up, fix her, get her back together, and then that guy with the smiley face tattoo, his name is Gregory, and this guy is like the biggest, I cannot stress this enough. He is like what a Redditor thinks is cool. He is so fucking cringe. I had to write this down. I didn't take too many notes during this movie because it's just so bland and boring. But Gregory is bafflingly cringe. So, when she gets up out of bed, notices that she's been stitched up, she walks out of her room and meets Gregory, who's chugging a bottle of alcohol. And he's just immediately like going back and forth. He's like, oh, you like my tattoo, don't you? Yeah, it's a cool tattoo. We had a little like church retreat, and we all got tattoos and stuff. Like you like what you're supposed to do and stuff. You like this tattoo, don't you? I know you like this. Yeah, you do. I know you do. And then like he's just being so weird, and Maya just says that's cool. And then the others come in, the other roommates are like, Gregory, stop being such a creep. And he's like, gah, whatever. So then he like storms off behind her to the door right next to her, or to the door behind her. Slams it, says fuck, and then turns on rock and roll music on his fucking boombox. It is so embarrassing. Like, it's so bad. I cannot believe they actually did that unironically, and it wasn't even played off as like a joke or anything. It was awful. But I'm also pretty sure that is just the Scarecrow guy. I don't think that they're gonna try and make him a red herring. It's probably just him. It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. Anyway, though, after that encounter with Gregory, she goes back to her room to rest. Gregory storms off, fucking hammered, gets in his car, drives away, and the roommates, they then get attacked by the strangers. So both of them get killed, and then the two female strangers are trying to break into Maya's room. One of them is actually behind her. Maya had no idea she got flanked. And instead of the stranger killing Maya, she instead starts singing "Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop," trying to be like really creepy. And then Maya had a pair of scissors, so she turns around and stabs her. The only reason Maya gets away at all in this film is because the strangers are so fucking bad at what they're doing. Like, they're not even doing it as part of like their game or whatever. They're just like genuinely stupid people. So she gets stabbed, and then she runs and locks herself in the bathroom, and then the strangers just leave. It's like, oh, I got stabbed like in the shoulder. I'm gonna go home. I gotta get this checked out. So they just leave. So Maya just waits in there for a couple minutes. Diagros leaves, and then an ambulance is there because an ambulance was sent to pick up Maya. And she gets in the ambulance, and it turns out the strangers didn't fully leave. They were waiting to ambush her. So Shelley is in that ambulance, and now they're fighting. And it's really an easy fight. Maya, who has been mauled by a boar, stabbed, beaten up, like absolutely like beyond repair, like probably tons of broken bones, ouchies, lacerations, can hardly walk, is able to easily overpower Shelly and stab her in the head, killing her. Or so you thought. As Maya's driving away in the ambulance, Shelly gets up and like starts strangling her with the seatbelt. So then Maya flips the ambulance, which kills Shelly. And then Maya watches as the scarecrow guy and the other female stranger pull up in their truck and see that Shelly is dead. They unmask her and he starts fucking crying over her corpse. And then you get that last flashback I mentioned with that smiley face after killing Tamra. And that's Strangers Chapter 2, setting up for Chapter 3 where she's going to kill the other two strangers. It sucks. Really does. I don't know what they were thinking making this movie. Well, making these movies. I don't know why they made Chapter 1. I understand even less why they made Chapter 2. And I really cannot fathom why they are making Chapter 3. Apparently these were filmed back to back to back. Like, they really banked on this being, like, successful. Like, people being very invested in this. But I don't know how anyone could possibly be invested in these movies. Anyway, that's really about it. So, yeah.